friends, I am excited to spend some time with you over the next few weeks. Our first handful of interactions will be some videos like this, but then we're going to have the chance to gather together over the great blessing and curse known as Zoom for some Q&A after all of these videos. The focus of these videos is going to be the idea that the more personal our ministries become, the more effective they'll be, the more life-changing they'll be, the more influential they'll be. The irony of being a complete stranger talking to you about the importance of being personal is not lost on me. So in an effort to feel a little less like a stranger, I want to spend a minute and tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Brett Talley. I grew up in Indianapolis, but now live in the suburbs north of Atlanta. And I'm a pastor's kid. I've been in the church world my whole life. I've been doing student ministry full-time for over 15 years, and that sure doesn't mean that I have all the answers, but I've had a lot of time to make some mistakes and then learn from those mistakes. Right now, I work for a nonprofit ministry called Orange, where I get to spend my time chatting with and coaching and learning from student pastors, just like your student pastors, from all over the world. I've been married since 2004 to a girl I met at church camp named Courtney, and we have 3 kids, a 7-year-old boy named Foster, who is obsessed with Minecraft. At least this week, it's Minecraft. I think it might be moving to Spider-Man, though, pretty quickly. I've got a 9-year-old named Daphne who broke her arm last week and is powering through like a champ, and an 11-year-old named Berkeley who is a super sweet girl who has the most contagious giggle that I've ever heard. Having 3 kids is great. My wife and I have to keep reminding ourselves of that over the past 6 months of quarantine and virtual school and just surviving 2020 in general. I love golfing. My wife would probably refer to it as an obsession if she were asked. And I also love Atlanta Braves baseball. I also love helping students develop a faith of their own, whether that's by being a volunteer small group leader at my church or the work that I get to do with the leaders all over the world at Orange. I love helping create ministries and cultures and safe spaces and opportunities for students to truly understand who God is and what He wants for their life. In my experience, one of the main ways that happens, that students begin to understand who God is because of people like you. I think that's true because that's my experience, and that's probably your experience too. I bet you can think back to your younger years of your faith. Maybe you were a teenager, and maybe some of you were a little bit older, but I bet you can remember someone who made it personal for you. Someone who took the ideas and the concepts of God and love and forgiveness and showed you what it actually looked like. That showed you that it wasn't just some old, out-of-touch religion or ancient text. Who were those adults for you, outside of your parents, in your life, who invested in you relationally? Who became a safe space for you to ask tough questions to? Or who you knew would be there for you no matter what? Really, the question I'm asking is, who made it personal for you? Mine was a guy named Craig Knisley. I met Craig through church when I was 14, and like I said, I was a PK. My life was all church and all God all the time, in a pretty healthy way too, compared to other PKs I've known. But the way that Craig invested in me and showed me what it looked like to love and to follow God changed the way that I thought about and interacted with my own faith. And there's a good chance that you can name someone who made it personal for you. None of us are doing what we're doing just because of a night of programming or a song or a message or even just because of the Bible. Those things have had a part in our journey, of course, but most of us are probably doing what we're doing because someone else has invested in our lives in personal ways that has made a huge impact. Or maybe we didn't, but we're committed to making sure that someone else has what we didn't have. See, we think that making ministry personal is not just the best way to do ministry, but that it's really the only way to do ministry. Knowing stuff about the Bible is important. Wrestling with, discussing, and applying what Jesus taught and asks us to do, that's the Christian life. That's ministry. So over the next few weeks, through these videos and in our Zoom chat, my hope is that you not only get clarification on what you're called to be as a small group leader, but that you also get some really practical tools and ideas on how to put this into practice with your group, how to get more personal with your few. So to start our conversation about making it personal, I want to look at the story of Zacchaeus. Is it Zacchaeus or is it Zacchaeus? All right, everybody knows this, so say it with me. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. All right, come on, guys. Stop making fun of people's stature. He was a tax collector. We probably all heard this story before, but I want to read it for us. Luke 19, chapter 1 through 10. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he couldn't see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and he climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him. When Jesus was reaching the spot, he looked up to him and he said, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." And so he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I've cheated anybody out of anything, I'm going to pay them back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." Okay, now why did everyone mutter? How would the crowd have described Zacchaeus? They didn't like him because he was a tax collector. And not only that, he was one who clearly abused his power. They saw Zacchaeus for what he'd done, but Jesus saw something different. Jesus saw someone with intrinsic worth. Jesus saw someone created in God's image. And Jesus saw someone with abilities and potential. So here's what we want to remember. Everybody needs someone to see them like Jesus does. I hope you've had that experience, where despite anything you've done, any questions that you've had, someone viewed and treated you like Jesus would. Zacchaeus had lost his sense of identity, of belonging, of purpose, and it took someone to come alongside him and believe that he could be more in order for Zacchaeus to believe it himself. This really parallels with what we do in student ministry, because students are trying to figure these things out. What's their identity? Where do they belong? What's their purpose? They're asking those questions. And sometimes they go through a few wrong answers in the discovery process, and they need someone walking with them in those seasons and giving them reminders when students themselves forget. So in these videos over the next few weeks, we're going to break down 5 questions that we think that you need to know about your students, that we think are going to help you make faith personal for them. So just a sneak peek, those questions are: do you know my name? Do you know what matters to me? Do you know where I live? Do you know what I've done? Do you know what I can do? See, we believe that when we're intentional about learning the answers to those questions about our students, that we've earned the right to get personal with them. We've also created deeper opportunities to help them develop an authentic faith of their own. Because when we get personal with our students, it opens up a new opportunity for us to not only connect with them on a deeper level, but for us to speak truth into their lives, for us to model what this faith of ours looks like, and for our words that we're trying to teach them to carry far more weight. So, while you wait for video 2, my question for you is, what can you do to make it personal in the lives of your few this week? I'll see you next time.